Hello, hello. Okay, welcome to tonight's masterclass, the importance of detoxing over 40. Thank you for being here. So, if you don't know me, my name is Becky Crime, and I am hopping in from Cochrane, Alberta. Now, I have worked in the health and wellness field for over 20 years as a personal trainer. I currently teach Pilates, I'm a melt instructor, and I am in perimenopause. So, the last 10 years really has been a journey of learning a new me. But isn't that how life goes? No matter what stage we are in, we are constantly growing, we're constantly evolving and trying to do our best. So tonight, I want to talk to you about what perimenopause is, what is menopause, and why it's so important to consider what we're putting in our bodies, on our bodies, and in our homes. So, first of all, what is perimenopause? It's a term that actually I didn't even think about until I was 36 years old. I just knew there was this thing called menopause that happened one day. But the 5 to 10 year period leading up to menopause is considered perimenopause. And it's very much like puberty, okay? In puberty, we are coming into our reproductive years, and in perimenopause, we are exiting our reproductive years. So if you're watching, you are probably well aware of many of the symptoms that can come with that. I mean, there's pages and pages of symptoms, but you might be experiencing problems with your sleep. Your hormones are they're changing, right? So you might be having hot flashes, headaches, brain fog, body aches. There are a list of endless symptoms. We are all unique. Now, menopause is actually defined as not having your period for one full year. I always thought this was just something that happened at 50. But my personal story, I was 36 years old. I had just given birth to Alexis. I shouldn't say just, because she was probably 6 or 7 months old. We'd moved to Cochrane, and I was having some problems with my menstrual cycle. And I went to the doctor, and she's like, well, you're in perimenopause. And I was thinking, no, I'm not. I have a newborn. How is that possible? But the reality is, after 35, there is a big change in our hormone shift. And I was well in it. Now at 49, my doctor tells me it's probably coming to an end here. I should be into menopause within the next year or so. But it's been a bit of a wild ride. So I wanted to come on and share some of what I have learned with you. So I'm going to throw up some slides here so we can dive into this. So why is it important to consider detoxification over 40? And how are we going to do that? Just write myself a note, because I thought of something else I don't think I included in the slides. So let's get started with these. First off, this era that we live in, 2024, it is truly one of the most toxic times in human history. The Industrial Revolution has come. We have exploited our earth. We've learned to do some really cool things, but that has come at a cost to our environment and to our health. So there are a lot of toxins out there that our grandparents would have never been exposed to. They had their own unique set of challenges, right? Now, several of these chemicals, that we're exposed to every single day are linked with serious long-term diseases, right? Cancer being one of the most prevalent, kind of scary ones that we often hear about. And these pose a threat to us as women in a significant way because they disrupt our hormones. So in a time of life that is, it's a little bit of a roller coaster as our body is learning to find this new normal. If we're throwing this toxic overload at our body and our body isn't sure what to do with that, it's going to make this chapter even more difficult. So I want to show you tonight what to avoid and what to do to really try to ease some of those symptoms. All right. Now, the other couple things to think about as we get older is that we tend to get a little bit more of a buildup in our system, right? So a newborn baby is obviously going to have less toxins in their body than someone like myself who's 49, who's been exposed to these things for a much longer period of time. And also as we age, I would dare to say that we're just not quite as effective as clearing things from our systems. Perhaps maybe because we're not moving as well. Our digestive enzymes, for example, aren't as good at digesting foods, things like that. Our bodies just aren't quite as effective as they used to be. And so things can start to build up. So let's talk about endocrine disruptors. This is something I'm sure many of you have heard about. Now, these are actually chemicals that throw your estrogen and progesterone. Man, I'm having a hard time talking tonight. They throw your estrogen and progesterone levels off balance. Okay. This can actually, of course, increase your risk of disease. Now, a lot of these you've probably heard of. The most common is bisphenol A. So those are all the plastics with BPA. It feels like yesterday, but that's been quite a few years now where we've realized, like, if you're going to buy a water bottle, you better make sure when you read it, it says BPA free. Okay. A couple other things: PCBs, DDT, dioxins, pesticides, parabens, phtalates, heavy metals. So there's a whole list of things that can really create an imbalance in our body. Okay. We want to learn how to minimize our exposure to those things that are actually going to be endocrine disruptors. So let's talk about the category of phthalates. So these are synthetic chemicals that are used to make plastics flexible and to make products smell good. And there is a ton of plastics around me. My water bottle is plastic. My phone cover is plastic. There are some plastic balls sitting here. There is plastic on top of my mouse. It is impossible. The band of my Fitbit is plastic. It is impossible really not to look around. In fact, I invite you right now just to look around your surroundings and see how much plastic you see around you. Even if you're doing your very best, there's some plastic around you. Okay. Don't worry. We're not asking you to throw it all out. We just want to be careful. Now, a recent study, this is where phthalates is super interesting, because a recent study found that adults who ate out frequently had the phthalates levels 35% higher than those people who prepared most of their meals at home. This makes me kind of sad, this next part, because it says, well, all kinds of restaurants, cafeteria, and fast food items increased phthalate exposure. Cheeseburgers and sandwiches appeared to carry the higher risk. Those are kind of a couple of my favorite things if I'm going to go out and eat, I got to be honest. But really what we're seeing is that when we're eating out in restaurants, again, you're still going to do those things, right? But if you look at even the amount of, like, especially with fast food, right, containers that they're in plastic, we're being exposed to more things. So if you can minimize that exposure and really try to create more nutritious food at home, you're going to reduce your exposure, right? It's all about moderation. There is no way we are going to be able to eliminate all risk. That just doesn't exist in this modern society that we live in. Now, there are a lot of common chemical food additives you want to avoid. So, chemical additives, of course, are used to affect flavors, to preserve products, but they can really negatively affect your health. So, it's important that we learn to pay attention to those. So, let's take a look at what some of these are. You might want to grab a pen and paper and write these down, because it's something you want to educate yourself on and start to pay attention as you're reading food labels and such, okay? The first one is titanium dioxide. This is a common ingredient found in sunscreen. It's also used as a food additive. So you're going to see this in salad dressings, powdered sugars, baked goods, other items. And the International Agency for Research on Cancer considers titanium dioxide a dangerous food additive, recommends that the consumers avoid it, and they label it as a class 2 carcinogen based on several studies. Now, this all sounds terrifying. Again, I want you to just take a deep breath. We're not trying to scare you. We're just trying to educate ourselves on minimizing our exposure to these. So, look at your sunscreen. Does it have that? A lot of them do. Now, clearly, with the sun being as hot as it is these days, we're going to have to wear it sometimes. But can you find a safer option and start actually reading those food labels? So, number 1 is titanium dioxide. Number 2 is sodium benzoate. These words are a mouthful. So again, this is used as a preservative in multiple food and drink products. Salad dressings, again, jams, sodas, pickles. You're going to see salad dressings come up a lot. Now, I can say there is one I really like. I should probably go read the label. I haven't done that. Let's keep it real. I love Renee's dressing, but it's the only one I have in my house. It is a fresher one. It does go bad quickly. Some of the other ones, if you can have a salad dressing in your house for 2.5 years and still use it, chances are it might not be so good for you. So I invite you, head over to Pinterest, type in natural salad dressings, because they're probably one of the simplest things to make. Grab a jar, keep it keep it made in your fridge for a couple days. Sometimes I keep it on the counter because obviously the oil will go hard, but that's a really easy way to reduce your exposure to sodium benzoate. And of course, it is linked to cancer, as many of these food additives are. Number 3, brominated vegetable oil. This additive is found in sodas and, of course, again, linked to several health issues. Now, what it says is that this additive can actually allow bromine to accumulate in your body. And then bromine has been linked to thyroid issues, nerve damage, cancers, and other health concerns. And what we also know in perimenopause is that we can start to see some of these other issues with our thyroid and such. So how can we minimize that risk? So brominated vegetable oil, write that one down, something to avoid. Number 4, potassium bromate, again found in breads, flours, crackers, and other baked goods. So when you're at the grocery store, right, there's some of those breads, or do this experiment. I'm not going to name brands, but there was a loaf of bread that we had in our house at one point. It literally sat on the counter for over a month and didn't get mold. That should concern me, right? So I'm going to give Cobb's some credit here. When we do buy bread, it's from Cobb's now. And the thing is, if that sits on the counter for 4 days, it goes moldy. That's a good sign. It means it's not full of preservatives. It's a better food choice for me. Or you can make your own bread. I haven't done that for probably 4 years, but that's obviously a really good option for you. Again, potassium bromate linked to cancer, okay? So what's number 5? We're going to talk about, if I can say this, interesterified fat. Now, this is something that helps preserve food. And let's be honest, we all have, if that pantry behind me, not sure if you can see it, there's a lot of stuff in there. That's the pantry. So it's all the stuff that's going to be okay for a long period of time. I've got some of these things in my home. I'm not going to beat myself up, but I'm going to limit my exposure to them, okay? And research is showing this can be as dangerous as trans fat out there. It's often found again in the baked goods, the canned soups, and other food items. So, number 6, BHA. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one, you guys. We're just going to say BHA. This is commonly found in cereals, butter, beer, crackers, gum, potato chips. Again, considered a carcinogen. This is really one of the main things we're seeing with that. It can also disturb normal sleep patterns and affect your appetite. Hurts the kidneys, been linked to cancer, may cause hair loss and other issues. So again, what do we see in perimenopause? Sleep is an issue, right? We really want to reduce our exposure to BHAs. We start to lose or thin our hair, right? So again, really things to consider. Now, that's all the doomsday stuff, all these things we should avoid. But you guys, it's actually pretty simple to live a healthy, well life. So let's look at just 4 simple ways to reduce the number of chemicals in your life, and then we'll break them down just a little bit farther. Number 1, okay, write this down. So you want to get rid of perfumes. You want to get rid of colognes. You want to get rid of dryer sheets. You want to get rid of air fresheners. Why? Because these are going to have synthetic fragrance in them, okay? Yes, they smell nice, but they are filled with toxic chemicals. And I can tell you, as a mom of teenage girls, this is a conversation I'm having, not always winning, but really trying to educate the girls around, there's other options. Perfumes and colognes have so many harmful chemicals. We have acetone, camphor, ethanol, acetate. I mean, the list goes on and on. A lot of these things, of course, are synthetic substances that are made from petroleum. So there's some really easy fixes, right? So yeah, we still want to smell good. We want our houses to smell good. Use essential oils, okay? I love essential oils. My sister sells them. She uses Young Living. You can put them on your body. You can diffuse them in your house. I have a little scented thing in my car right now because if you're a mom and you have a minivan, guaranteed that doesn't smell so good. So I've got some essential oils going on in there. And then, of course, when it comes to laundry, you can get at any farmer's market, any health food store, those wool balls, and you just drop a couple essential oil drops on there, and it makes your laundry smell delicious without exposing yourself to the toxic chemicals. So an easy fix. So we're getting rid of those synthetic smelly things. Okay, that's easy. Number two, we want to avoid toxic makeup and other personal care products. And again, whoa, having teenage girls, there's some phases they've gone through. And I wish I should have looked at this, but they all now have on their phone. I know Environmental Working Group has one, but there's different apps you can get that when you're in the store, you can open it up, you can scan the barcode, and it'll actually tell you how safe or unsafe a product is. So I highly recommend having that. You're really wanting to look at natural brands. Maybe you want to make your own. I don't have time for that. I got to be honest, but a little bit of coconut oil with some essential oils dropped in makes a really, really great moisturizer. That's actually what I like to use after I dry brush. Dry brushing, side note, dry brushing is really great to stimulate your lymphatic system, which is going to start to flush those toxins out. And then when you're finished up with that, slather on some coconut oil with essential oils. It is ideal. Of course, I do consult for a brand that sells natural products, clean label, giving you safe alternatives. So if you're looking for recommendations of what to use, I would be happy to send you a link, get you $25 off your first order, and get you started living cleaner that way. But we really want to avoid a lot of this stuff out there. You've kind of heard of this Sephora Kids thing right now. There are so many endocrine disruptors in some of these products. It kind of scares me for when these girls, now these 12-year-olds are kind of, into 20s and 30s and looking to have kids. So be careful with those sorts of things. So pretty simple though. Make clean choices, use essential oils, make your own products, clean label brands. It is easy to avoid these, okay? Number three, again, change your cleaning supplies. I mean, men and women are cleaning pretty equally now, but I remember back in the days, like if you've ever been in a room full of Javex, or I'm using harsh cleaners back in my 20s and I would actually get a rash on my hands, I've learned better. So again, you can make your own options, vinegar, baking soda. There's some great ways to do that. I personally am not in a phase of life where I have time to do that. So again, I'm looking to choose clean label products. And again, I can offer you some really great recommendations. If you're not sure what to use, the home collection is my absolute favorite. And again, you can get these things shipped right to your house. You don't need to leave the house to go shopping for something fancy, okay? So looking to make some of those cleaner choice options. Number four, avoid processed foods. This is so easy. Our food might be one of the biggest source of chemicals in our life. I think a lot of us are looking now at clean label products. We're looking at our products, our makeup, our perfumes, all those things like I mentioned, but sometimes in a quest, we're so busy, and in a quest for easy and fast food, we aren't always making the best choices around food. So you want to avoid processed food as much as possible, okay? You're going to be adding unnecessary toxins to your life. So what can you do? Learn to read labels. We already talked about the 6 main food additives that you want to make sure you're avoiding. So get to know those. If you need a recap, you can watch the replay or shoot me back a message and I can send you that list. But you want to learn to read labels and really think about whole foods. It's really that simple. You go to the grocery store, walk around the perimeter. The stuff in the center is the stuff that's going to be the pantry stuff that has more food additives. So just go with whole foods. Or if you're like me, grow a garden. It's also super rewarding. You're going to reduce your stress. Well, hopefully, if you like gardening, and really just do your body a favor. Okay. So we talked about, again, detox by cutting back on those phthalates. So important. How do we do that? Kind of talked on these already, but again, buy fresh produce, okay? So a lot of canned goods, like the soup, pasta, they're a major source of phthalates. So anytime you can choose fresh or frozen items, that's going to lower your exposure and provide more nutrition. So what's interesting, if you think about too, even in our grocery stores in the winter here in Canada, if I'm getting some ingredients, well, they were probably picked 2 weeks ago, sitting on a truck, and day by day they lose their nutritional value. Whereas if I choose a frozen option, right, that vegetable has been picked in that garden, it's been immediately processed and frozen, it's actually going to retain more of its nutritional value. And frozen is a safer option than canned, usually. Again, they're put in a plastic bag. So, consider some things, but what's going to work best for you? Fresh is always best. Of course, that's a real challenge right now. I totally understand that. Grocery costs are really out of, they're just out of this world. So, again, if you can, learn to grow a little vegetable garden. And if you live in town, you're in an apartment, you don't need a lot of space. You can even just grab some tomatoes that are already in planters. There's some really simple ways. And in fact, there's a lot of tower gardening that's done now. So year round, you can do, hydroponic gardening in your house. So there are definitely some options for you. Consider organic products. Now, organic isn't always a foolproof solution. Organic doesn't mean it doesn't have pesticides. It just means they're trying to reduce them, trying to use safer ones. But really, most importantly, grow your own food. Of course. Are you ready for all that? If you're following me on Facebook, you're about to see a lot of gardening posts come up this time of year. I love to garden, so consider that. Number 3, switch containers. So when possible, I want you to try to buy food in glass or steel containers rather than plastic, or transferring that item to a non-plastic case works better. I have a whole bunch of plastic, I'm going to call them Tupperware containers. They're not Tupperware, but I got a big case of plastic. What is that brand? Sistema. From Costco. It was so cheap. I threw it in like $24.99 for all this stuff. And then I got it home. We've been using it for a week. And I was like, Becky, you could have made a better choice, because they do sell glass containers, which would be a way safer option. I'm going through perimenopause, but I also have 3 daughters that are going through puberty. And I need to make choices that are going to keep their reproductive health safe. So something to consider, glass or steel, whenever we can. Clean naturally. We already talked about this one. You're also going to save money. Like vinegar and baking soda it's so simple, right? Sometimes a little extra elbow grease versus the toxic oven cleaner sort of thing can really go a long way to reduce your exposure. And then think about how you're cooking. Okay. So, some people are completely opposed to microwaves. I do have one, but one thing I do choose to do is I never put plastic in the microwave. I always choose to microwave in a glass container. And even with some of your cookware, right? There is some research that's showing the nonstick pans. I have a couple in my house. I have others that aren't as well, but that will reduce your risk. So always just thinking about, you don't have to do everything perfectly, but where can you improve per se? And then this one, it's hard. Like detox by cutting back on eating out. I get this, right? We all know that we shouldn't eat out for a variety of reasons. When we eat out, we're getting, higher sodium in our food, probably a little bit more grease in our food. It's why it tastes so good. But whenever possible, can we cook at home? And there's a variety of things that are going to keep you from preparing more of your own meals. I know as this stage in life, when the kids were wee little, especially with one baby, I was cooking organic baby food. It was all in glass jars, doing all the things. Never judge until you're there. Now you might find a fast food wrapper in my van. You're going to see us grab a pizza because we are in such a busy phase of life. Maybe I'm using that as an excuse, though, let's be honest. But again, give yourself some grace, right? However, I also know I've had periods of life where I've been super organized. It takes work in order for this to be easy. But I promise you, if you choose hard, because sometimes meal prep, grocery planning, all that, it's a little bit harder in the moment, but long term, it will make your life easier. So those Sundays where I've like meal prepped, I've got the whole menu written out for the week, I've got the groceries in place, that week, we do good. The Sundays where I don't get to it, we're grabbing pizza on Wednesday night, right? So you need to think about doing these things. Plan your menus, learn new recipes because I think sometimes we get bored. I know that's happened here. I'm like, oh, I don't want to cook turkey skillet, but yet again. And so I'll tell my husband to pick something up on the way home. So learn new recipes. Pinterest is your friend. If you're looking for a lot of great healthy recipes inside my Shine community, there are a ton of best me recipes that are all about nutrition and superpower foods. Learn to cook in batches. That's your friend, right? So if I'm making, for example, a shepherd's pie, I won't just cook one. I'll make two. One for supper, one in the freezer, right? Or when we get home from Costco with meat, before we even freeze it, I might mix up some meatballs ahead of time, get them cooked so that things are easy and ready to go. Pack your lunches whenever possible, carry snacks, slow cookers, Instapots. There are so many ways and things that can help us out. If you have others, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Your best hacks for eating, doing your own food prep, I guess, and eating healthy. Would love to know what those are. And then enjoy a meal out now and then because you do deserve it. You deserve a break. And there is just something relaxing. It's good for your mental health, good for your community connections to go out with friends and have a meal. So, again, it's about moderation. So, I have some homework for you. But before I get there, actually, I'm going to back up just one slide. I might actually just even take this off here for a second. Remove that. Okay. I just a random thought, and this is just my idea. Everything else I've given to you is actually research based. It's part of a program I'm in that's given to me by a medical doctor, so it's good to go. This is my random thought, and I would love to know what you think. I'm a Generation Xer, okay, so I'm really one of the first generations that was born into instant food, right? My parents were boomers. Their parents before them, they were settling the country. They were in the war. Everything that they did was made from scratch. My grandma told a story of the biggest. My husband asked her one time, what was like the biggest invention that changed your life? And she was like the deep freeze, because she no longer had to spend hours and hours canning everything. She could freeze stuff. My parents were boomers, right? Again, we definitely grew up with a lot of home cooked meals. I grew up on the farm. There was lots of canning and freezing, and things were made from scratch for sure. But it was also that generation where we had pizza pops, we had TV dinners. We started to see an influx of fast food restaurants. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. I'm thinking actually not to sound doomsday, but over an extended period of time, if we continue to eat nothing but processed food, that's going to have a toll on our health, right? So just curious, what do you think? If you look generation by generation by generation, I think Generation X might be in trouble here a little bit. And then of course, we try to course correct as we move along through other generations. Right now, I feel super bad for people because it's hard to eat healthy because simply the cost of it. So again, that's just random ramblings with Becky. Let's get back to your homework, okay? This is what I want you to do. So I want you to take a wander through your house when we're done here tonight. I want you to take a look at your beauty products, look at the ingredients. You can go to just the app store and just type in, I forget the name of it. I apologize. I know Environmental Working Group does have one, but just beauty scanner, like beauty safety products. There's a ton of apps out there. Scan your products, see how safe they are. If they're really not safe, throw them out and get better products. Commit to eating whole foods whenever possible. So you've gone into your bathroom, you've looked at your makeup products, your personal care products, maybe go down into your laundry room as well, your cleaning supplies, look at them, say, ooh, what are these? Did I buy the $1.99 cleaner on sale at the grocery store that is full of toxins? Would I be better off making a clean label choice for my health, right? Head over into the kitchen, okay? Do you have any vegetables in your fridge, or is your pantry full of crackers and processed foods, right? No judgment, no judgment. It's just like, what's one thing we can do to improve it, right? So eating those whole foods as much as possible. How many plastic containers do you have? So again, maybe look into your cupboards there. Are you using a lot of plastics? I actually have my mom's original bright orange Tupperware measuring cups. And I've had them for years. And just recently, actually, One of my clients was here who was in her 70s, and she's like, "You need to get rid of that." She goes, "Tupperware back in the 80s was full of bad plastic." And I was like, "Ooh, yeah, you're probably right." So I still have them for sentimental values, but I went and got some metal measuring cups just to, again, reduce that risk. So do you need to go and grab some glass containers? And I know every once in a while Costco has that big set of like small, easy glass containers for like under $30. So there's definitely some options there. And then just additionally, kind of what we talked about today, I want you to consider writing down 1 to 3 more strategies of what you can do to really reduce your exposure to some of these toxins. And then think about a couple other things I haven't put on here, and maybe we'll add these for homework as well. But are you moving your body daily? Your body's lymphatic system tied into your fascial system is really meant to detoxify you. So if you're sitting, if you're not moving the toxins out of your body. So get outside, go for that brisk walk, go for a massage, use the melt method, get moving the fluids in your body to detox, right? Get as much sleep as you can. I know that's like, it's tough this time of this chapter of life in perimenopause and menopause. But when you're sleeping is when your body is in that rest and recovery state, and it's actually it's sorting out your body. It's getting rid of, putting the bad stuff down there for you to expel, right? It's sorting out your body. So whenever you can, sleep. If you need some recommendations for sleep health, let me know. I had to take sleep health last night because the last couple nights have been a little bit rough. Thankfully, I slept for a solid 10 hours last night, so feeling much better. And finally, hydrate well, okay? You need to drink 3 liters of water a day. You might have heard me say this before, but if every time you increase your water and you're just peeing it out, it means your connective tissue is dehydrated. Talk to me with the melt method. Go for a massage. Stuck connective tissue doesn't have the ability to absorb the water, so then your body just pees it out. Okay, so to close, I'm going to just see if I can remove that slide. I would leave you with this. You are worth the investment of time and money to live your best life. I want you to embrace the 5 pillars of wellness. Okay. What are those? I want you to eat well. Okay. Good nutrition. I want you to move well. We're looking at fitness here, but not even fitness. Just get up, move, go for a walk, get outside, breathe some fresh air. You need to sleep well. You need to think well, because if this up here is negative and in a bad place, it's going to affect everything else in your life. And finally, I want you to connect well. It is so important that we have good quality people around us that are filling our bucket with joy and positivity. There's 5 pillars of wellness. You don't need to change all of them. You make one small change and it has a ripple effect throughout everything else your body does. And soon you will be feeling your best. All right, guys. I don't think I kept you too long. Where is my timer? I don't know. 32 minutes. That's not too bad. So thank you for hanging out for me tonight. Ignore the clock. It's not 4:30. It's been 4:30 at my house for about a year. I really need to get some batteries in that clock. But thank you for being here tonight. If you have any questions, any concerns about anything wellness, I am happy to help. I will answer your question. And there's a lot of questions I can't answer, but I have a great community of people I can refer you